morning, viewers out there, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of your number one breakfast show on television inside Nigeria. You can hear on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Gbebo, and as you can see, I have a guest that we are contrasting colors today. Where I'm red, he's white.
That's true.
He's a publisher, Dr. Austin Kumaro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Winifred.
It's always a pleasure to host you on the program.
Nice to be here.
And as usual, you can see we have an array of newspapers for our review this Tuesday, May 9, 2023. And of course, also as usual on the program, we'd like to start off with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership. Leadership is leading with a story, still developing story on the NAS Review. And it says, 10th NAS Leadership, zoning formula unsettles APC aspirants battle ready. 10th NAS Leadership, zoning formula unsettles APC aspirants battle ready. Wase Doguwa Jaji rejects Abbas as speaker, ministerial offers. Gbajabiamila faces impeachment over Dr. Ruth. Southeast senators kick as APC unveils Akpabio for Senate president. I'll take that leading story once again. 10th NAS Leadership, zoning formula unsettles APC, aspirants battle ready. Wase Doguwa Jaji rejects Abbas as speaker, ministerial offers. Gbajabiamila faces impeachment over Dr. News. Southeast senators kick as APC unveils Akpabio for Senate president. Of course, we have other stories on the cover of Leadership. Let's take them before we discuss leading story. The presidential poll, we shall ensure justice. Tribunal, of course, tribunal started yesterday to hear pre-hearing cases among the petitioners. You have Peter Obi, Abubakar Atiku, and of course the president-elect lawyers, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Presidential poll shall ensure justice, that is tribunal. Of course, above that, we have Nigeria spends $3.3 billion on auto parts annually. Nigeria spends $3.3 billion on auto parts annually. Above the masthead, we have Tinubu may travel out as Northern youth seek probe of Buhari's aides. Tinubu may travel out as Northern youth seek probe of Buhari's aides. Bandits adopt 40 worshippers in Kaduna. The insecurity situation in Kaduna remains unabated. And just right-hand side of the paper, we have 2 to die by hanging for conspiracy robbery in Delta. Supreme Court decides Adeleke Oyetola's fate today. That's the trending story. Today, the Supreme Court is going to decide on go back to poll between Oyetola and Adeleke. And Wole Soyinka says, I had frank discussion with Obi, not reconciliation. Soyinka, the story is on page 6 of Leadership newspaper. And just before we leave Leadership, we have the page 3, our stand. This is the editorial slant of the paper, redefining Nigeria's foreign policy. Redefine Nigeria's foreign policy. And of course, for you to find out what Nigeria's foreign policy is, just log on to Leadership, www.leadership.ng for more stories also on the inside pages. From the Leadership, we move over to Daily Sun. Daily Sun says opposition parties group kick as APC zones NAS positions. Opposition parties group kick as APC zones NAS positions. Reject zoning of Senate president to South-South, Akpabio's adoption. Northwest to produce deputy Senate president. Speaker, Southeast, deputy speaker. I'll take that again. Opposition parties group kick as APC zones NAS positions. Reject zoning of Senate president to South-South, Akpabio's adoption. Northwest to produce deputy Senate president. Speaker, Southeast, deputy speaker. That's the leading story on the Daily Sun. From Daily Sun, we move over to New Telegraph. It's still leading story that is trending. Of course, we have News Direct. News Direct says 10th Assembly leadership APC National Working Committee unsatisfied with Tinubu zoning formula. 10th Assembly leadership, APC National Working Committee unsatisfied with Tinubu zoning formula. 6. Consultation choice of Akpabio orders. Southeast senators kick, that is the leading story on Nigerian News Direct. EFCC seeks extradition of brothers, one order to US over child exploitation pornography. Uh, of course, New Telegraph. Let's have New Telegraph. New Telegraph says presidential poll. Tinubu asks Obi Tinubu to reconcile documentary evidences. That is what we are going to be discussing on the after the leading story today. That is the story on the NAS leadership. We'll stay down. So, sir, Doctor, What are your thoughts on the Akpabio as a consensus candidate?
Oh, well, my thought is
Actually, not really consensus because freelance have it that there is president-elect's choice.
it's president-elect's choice.
Yeah.
And if you look at the debate going on, since
Yeah.
he was announced as the consensus candidate of the National Working Committee of the APC, not just that of the president.
President-elect.
In fact, the leadership of the APC, the National Working Committee, that came up with the zoning formula, zoning the position of the president of the Senate to
The South.
the South, and to the person of Godswill Akpabio, the senator and former governor of Akwa Ibom State, and also a former minister of the Niger Delta Ministry. So, be that as it may, you will equally agree that look, no, the battle for the position of the Senate president was between the Southeast
Yes, and the South.
and the South, and the name and two prominent names, were being thrown up. There was Kalu Jokalu, who was representing the southeastern part of the country, and of course, Godswill Akpabio, who stood in for the South. At the end of the day, based on the wisdom and calculation of the National Working Committee of the APC, they feel that feeding Akpabio for that position at this point in time is to their interest. Be that as it may, I feel it's a done deal. It's a done deal to the extent that, look, Akpabio has been reaching out. If you look at his movement within the last 1 week, he has been reaching out to prominent leaders within the APC. He has visited traditional leaders. He has consulted far and wide, even across his main party to the opposition party. We shouldn't forget that he served 8 years as governor of Akwa State under the platform of the PDP. So I'm very sure that his influence within the PDP is still very high. So that is why I'm saying that to me it's a done deal. I'm sure that when the House convened on June 13, when the House is inaugurated and convened on June 13, he will definitely emerge as the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The only place I feel a little bit uncomfortable, I feel that there may be contestation. If you look at even what the papers are reporting today, is the position of the Speaker of the House of Representatives. There seems, you have 109 senators,
Yes.
about 340 House of Representatives. So 109 is always, they are more mature.
More manageable. Yes.
They are more manageable. So they are more mature, more manageable. But you find that in the House of Representatives, managing about 340 individuals from different backgrounds, different religion, different political persuasion, and of course, don't even forget the inroad the opposition political party has made as far as the House of Representatives is concerned. APC doesn't have an absolute majority in the House of Representatives. So I feel that though, if we look at what the paper is saying, the position has been zoned to Barau Jubril from the northwest. If we find out that even from what was reported in the leadership of today, there are still contestation. There are still people who are making comments to the effect that they are not satisfied formula, and they may decide to contest the position,
Exactly.
irrespective of the fact that it has been zoned.
Yes, I was just coming to
by
that.
the APC hierarchy
Yes.
to Jibril Barau. So that's the only place I feel that there may be in the House of Rep. That's the only place I feel that there may
Okay.
still be
But even
opposition
in-
voices to be
But
preserved.
Doctor, if I may also chip in, there are feelers even in the high red Hadu chamber that many of the senators are also canvassing for Yari,
Mm.
and that they want the Senate presidency to go to the
To the
northwest.
the northwest.
Yes.
Yeah, even Diari himself, he made a statement yesterday to the fact that
So what is going to happen? And
he's not
Feelers also said that even the Senate president, current Senate president, is also in support of Akpabio.
that is the point I'm trying to make. And that is why I said, look, Akpabio has made wide consultation. And since he declared his interest for that position, he has been consulted. In the last 1 week, if you follow him, you find that he has visited virtually all parts of the country, reaching out to former governors, former senators, those coming back to the Senate leadership, in order to promote and project his ambition. And Akpabio, if you know his history and background from time, you know that who is it again that said that what money cannot do money? So that is the point. The point is that I believe, there may be voices of dissent, but if today, from we probably say that probably 24 hours is a long time.
Yes, it's a long time.
But if today, Akpabio and that principal dissenting voice, Yari, former governor of Zamfara State, contest for that position, Akpabio will.
You see, even the Guardian newspaper is also leading with the discontent as aspirants minority caucus reject Akpabio.
It's just minority caucus, not the majority. So I may have, like I said, some reservation when it comes to the House of Representatives.
But let me take you back again.
But at the end of the day, I still believe that Akpabio have made wide consultation enough.
But what do you think, in your view, must have happened? Because at the beginning, everybody thought Odikalu was tutored to be the Senate president, maybe the consensus.
Yeah, many of us felt that. Many of us felt.
So what really happened at the end of the day? What have changed that narrative?
I wouldn't say Akpabio. I would have said that position was considered, should have been considered in the Southeast.
Yes. What do you think may have happened to change that narrative?
Is the person of Orji Uzor Kalu the best candidate from the Southeast to occupy that position? Don't forget, the man has a lot of baggage. And for an administration coming into power where the president-elect, without prejudice to the outcome of the judicial process, has a lot of baggage. The vice president, Shetima, has a lot of baggage in relation to how he managed Boko Haram in the southeastern part of the country for 8 years, when he was the governor of Borno State. Has a lot of baggage. And of course, you now have a Senate president in the person of proposed before you fight for that seat of Orji Uzor Kalu, who is equally, how many days did he spend in the prison before he was released?
And the situation why it was released was even on technical grounds because they said the judge has already been transferred. Not that
he was not guilty of
alleged crime.
So even the EFCC was supposed to file other to file charges against him, to go back to court to seek a retrial of that thing. So he has some baggage. So do you want? And I think the leadership of the UPC would have put all these into consideration and say, instead of going for somebody, instead of having an administration whereby you have a lot of baggage, with the top three positions: the president, the vice president, the Senate, the president of the Senate having this load of baggage. It's better we go for somebody. It's not as if Akpabio doesn't have his own baggage, but let's go for a lesser evil. So between both of them, when it seems as if the ruling party doesn't have a stronger candidate, in the southeastern part of the country. People have said, okay, there's a strong person, the person of in the southeast, the person of Inaya Abaribe, but he's in the opposition PDP, so he can't vie for that position. So possibly that could have dictated uh, the, the the swing
And
of interest to Akpabio to throw their support behind him to occupy the position. So that's what I feel.
or could it be like somebody pointed out that it could also be the fact that you take the history of Senate president, the southern east people have tend
Occupy
to
that position.
more than
Yes.
any other tribe. So could also that have
That could be it. But what I'm looking at
so apart
is
from
the
Joseph Wyatt,
is the
no
rea-
Sa-
is the
no
reality
Sansa.
is the reality of the situation on ground that anybody trying to make a choice on who to occupy that position should be looking at. What is the reality of ground today as we speak? The reality is no matter the sympathy APC has towards zoning the Senate presidency to the southeast, the person to occupy that position is just not there. And between Akpabio and an odd use of Kalu, I believe that odd use of Akpabio has a stronger hand. And that is why he has consulted wider, it's more acceptable, and he doesn't have the kind of baggage that will put a question mark
on his
on
candidature.
his candidature and on the administration. So possibly that would have been the reason that he became the top contender.
Thank you so much for that. Now we have another trending story, and that is a Supreme Court between Oyetola and
Yeah,
Adeleke.
the judgment is coming up.
Yeah, today.
Mm.
Can you print it?
Already it's 1-1.
Yes, it's 1-1. So it can either go.
Either way, it's already it's 1-1. Utola lost at the tribunal, first court of instance. It was overturned by the appellate court, and now it's at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has, Nigerians, because of the inconsistency and illogicality that we've seen with the Supreme Court in recent times, when you relate it to what happened in Imo State, when number 4 became number 1, and of course we equally know of just about last month what happened in Yobe State with Ahmed Lawan and
Yes,
Machina, when it was obvious to
So-
the blind
So obvious.
that look, Ahmed Lawan didn't contest for this position, but yet the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, bringing up one technicality or another with the support of the APC. So the Supreme Court itself, the judiciary, to me, with this case, this commencement of the presidential election petition tribunal, with the opening of proceedings, the judiciary, is not only INEC that is on trial, the judiciary
yes,
is on trial. The judiciary needs to redeem its image. The judiciary needs to give us the hope that there are still men who live above pecuniary interests, who have the interest of this nation at heart, who can deliver justice without fear or failure, based on what the law says, based on what the evidence says, not because they are being pressurized or being influenced by outside forces. So to me, the judiciary is on trial. What they do and what they are going to do in the next 90 days that the court will see. All eyes are on them.
90
And
days.
Nigeria,
Okay.
yeah, 90 days.
Okay, but the whole span is how many days?
90.
Some people said 180. I don't know.
Well, the last time I checked, it's 90. So, like I said, all eyes are on the judiciary. What they do is under the public radar, and of course, people are calling
For
like
live transmission.
of the results. Open justice. Let people see what the justices are saying. Let people see the evidences being presented before the court. So that even before judgment or at the point where judgment is delivered, people will already know those that have the strongest case? Is it the opposition?
Mm.
Is it the assumed winner of the election? Is it INEC, who is a respondent who conducted the election? So let people see the evidence before the tribunal. And that is why many of us equally support the call that look, it should be transmitted live for the sake of transparency, accountability. Let justice be seen to have been done.
So many people are hopeful, but so many people are also not, just like what you pointed out, some of the judgments arising from the Supreme Court are not giving hope to many Nigerians. But so, be that as it may, many of the opinion that well, it's just going to be normal as usual because have you ever seen any presidential coup overthrown? Like, never happened. You be able to see.
When Nigeria is a young 24 years of democracy, you can see Nigeria is a young democracy. But we have had even young democracies where presidential elections were that's happened. So whether the judgment is in favor of the opposition or in favor of the winning candidate, what is paramount and important to Nigeria is that the institution of the judiciary should be preserved. Because see, if the judiciary does not live up to the expectation of the Nigerian, and you now give an average Nigerian the impression that look, his last hope is no longer the judiciary. He is left to resort to self-help. And when people begin to resort to self-help, you create a vicious state. You create what I would call a state of anarchy. Because when people no longer have faith in the judiciary, the only course of action left for them is to resort to self-help. Because they have nowhere to go to. So that is a thorough recipe for plunging Nigeria into a state of anarchy crisis. So that is why all eyes are on the judiciary. The outcome should be a reflection of the law, of the evidence in delivering justice. Justice, like I said, must not only be done, but must be seen to have been done to the satisfaction of all sides, all parties to the case. Even if at the end of the day, the ruling of the court is not in favor of the winning candidate, he on his own will see that based on the evidence before the court, he actually lost the election. In the same vein, if the opposition loses out, they will be able to see that based on the evidence that we have presented before the court, they actually lost. That is what is paramount.
Yes.
And I'm happy when the justices spoke yesterday about, look, they are not going to rely on technicalities. The judgment is going to be based on evidence, and they will be fair to all parties, which is a good sign.
However, how big, from what you just said, that is a beautiful piece you just went there. The paper said tribunal lawyers parties we must consider Nigeria's peace, and I wonder what does that mean?
I hope it's not peace.
Can there be peace without justice?
There can't be peace without justice. What we have now is in Nigeria is the peace of the brilliant. And why people seem to be quiet is because they feel that they will get justice.
Yes.
That's why people are.
Yes.
But if at the end of the day they don't get justice, what do you think will happen? It's one way. The peace we should be talking about is peace based on justice. Not peace based on injustice. How can you promote peace out of an unjust situation? It doesn't work. Peace has to be based on justice. Peace has to be based on equity, fairness, transparency, to the satisfaction of all parties concerned. So that's as I said earlier, look, it's not that we are taking sides with either the opposition or the ruling party, INEC, who is a respondent, and the four parties that are the APC, the petitioners, and the respondents. All we are saying that let justice be done. based on the latter spirit, the evidence provided for the court.
That's a nice one. Let's see what other papers they have to say on the issue. And we're talking about a new telegraph from Dr. Express's views. Let's have the national telegraph. Yes, sorry for that break. We have a new telegraph on our screen. It says Presidential Poll, Tribunal asks Obi Tinubu to reconcile documentary evidences. Presidential Poll, Tribunal asks Obi Tinubu to reconcile documentary evidences. As parties brought heaps of documents adjusted tomorrow for hearing. To hear Atiku's petition today dismisses AA's petition against President-elect warns parties against technicalities. Tribunal sat under heavy security presence. That is all.
That's very vexed. Sitting under heavy security. And the day of court leader, even today, the whole asset through the train and zone is completely serious, and you are causing undue hardship to citizens. Is it necessary? Is that how to provide security? The best security is security that is not even visible. You can secure a place without having armed men, wielding all kinds of weapons, showing strong armed tactics or bullying citizens, from having access of weight. To me, that's not the best security. In fact, you are only making people angry because people have to trek long kilometers because of unnecessary blockade. Whereas the court where the sitting is taking place is almost 5 kilometers inside, but you just block. How blocking that access provides security to fight justice is just imagination. So I think there's a need for the security arrangement around the court premises to be reviewed. But I actually don't see the reason why you cause untold hardship to citizens in the name of security.
Thank you so much. Now we're also going to be looking at the issue of insecurity, like we just read out on leadership today. I'll just read out on leadership. The bandits abduct 40 worshippers in Kaduna, and other papers still carry the same story. In Daily Sun, it says bandits attack church, abduct 40 worshippers in Kaduna. We also have similar story in The Nation. Nation says 40 worshippers abducted during church service. 15 victims escape. And still on this insecurity, we have 134 kidnapped victims from FCT councils rescued in Kogi. And New Nigeria says, New Nigeria is still also on that story. It says, terrorists invade Kaduna church, abduct 40 worshippers, kidnap more than 9 children, others. What is happening? Like, obviously after the election, they seem to have gone haywire.
During the election, there seems to have been a law.
Yes.
Immediately after the election, they started over.
Is it that the security is just relaxed or they've gone to sleep?
I don't think so. What it tells me that the security situation in the country still are there. We not really craft the required solution to deal with the security challenges we are facing in the country. From Kaduna, from the story you read, from Kaduna, where there are two actual security stories from Kaduna. One is the invasion of the church service on Sunday, where 40 worshippers were abducted. Then there was the story of an emir.
Yes, monarch.
The monarch.
Yes.
An emir where 7 or 9 of his grandchildren and some of his wives were adopted. They now come to the piece of goodness of Kogi, where Vigilante were able to mobilize and neutralize some neutralize some terrorists and rescue about 134 Nigerians. And many of those rescued individuals were kidnapped in Abuja. You heard the story where were kidnapped in Abuja. You know, there have been a series of terrorist attacks in Kwali and Kudi Area Council, Federal Capital Territory. If you read that story, many of those kidnapped, or many of those that were rescued, were those that were kidnapped, adopted in Kudi and Kwali Area Council, Federal Capital Territory. And some of them were from Nasarawa. That's why it's even about
I wonder how they kept it.
That is why at times when we talk about this issue, we need to ask our security services what are they?
I just asked you what's
Police,
happening.
the military, have they gone to see? What are they doing? How can this thing happen? How is it that after so many years of insurgency, terrorism, kidnapping for ransom, it seems as if we still don't have a solution to the problem? It goes up, comes down, and the win of kidnappers. So I think we should begin to think outside the box. We should begin to ask more questions. As a country, we cannot do that.
I was just trying to paint in my head the time it will take to just abduct 40 people. You need maybe this maybe open truck
to convey them to the
convey them.
What about even
whip them into the vehicle from church? It takes at least 1 hour.
What if I even feel that when you are able to successfully carry out?
I'm thinking as you are taking them, there was no security in place. Nobody can call police. Nobody and
or people call the response,
yes.
Or they tell their master that they don't have to carry that they don't have operational vehicle, or they don't have enough bullets in their rifles. So it's a whole lot of problems.
And if let's tell how many of them would have come to kidnap 40.
Yes.
In one person.
And how they move from the forest to the point where
yes.
they kidnap these individuals. We'll ask many of these questions in the past, but nobody seems to be providing answers. And neither are we having solutions to the problem. So this, at times when issues like this come, I'm like, we've already lost hope in the outgoing Buhari administration. We have to just.
Additional is always trying to paint us a contrary picture.
Maybe by the time, when I remember when I listened to Femi Adesina speak at time, I remember when Ruben Abbas, who was the person to President when he left office, you remember the title of that article? The spiritual side of us.
Oh yes. So
if you have not read it, go and pick it up. The spiritual side of us, where he began to explain, to read that article, that most of the things happening in Asoro are spiritual, have a superhuman connotation. That even if you go there with your clear eyes, you won't come out with your clear eyes. Most of the things you do it not rationally, but under some forces that controls your action. In other words, he was trying to explain away his non-performance or some of the limitations the administration had.
I know he also gives example how he was always sickly,
sick and all
how
that.
the president plane almost crashed.
All that, yeah.
Just
That's
like
the spiritual side of us. So allow what's his name, Femi Adesina his time. Maybe by the time he write his own version of the spiritual side of us. Right now he's under spiritual influence. So he can try let him be gaslighting us to say all is well, Buhari is the best that ever. So by the time he leaves that office, maybe the scales will fall out of his eyes and you see clearly.
Like somebody said, he said, no, it's not as if he doesn't know, but he's just trying to counter the narrative, that reality, so that let it be not for history's sake that no, he countered.
Not by lying, not by gaslighting, not by making it seem as if we are not stakeholders in this entity.
Yes.
We all see what is happening. It happens to us, it happens to our family members. We can go on and on, but at times, let's just put the cap, the cover,
Yes.
or whatever Femi Adesina has to say, and begin to look forward. We've lost the last 8 years. We have a lot to catch up with. We shouldn't dwell on things on the past 8 years, but look into the future. We hope, because if we miss it this time around, it will be a big problem. You know, for Nigeria as a country. So we have so much.
We have to.
We have so much.
No, that leads me to the next question that I want to ask. Now, what does it portend for the incoming administration, saying that after 8 years, security issue or insecurity is still a big problem?
It's a big problem, no doubt.
Because
from the
the
stories
outgoing administration came in on the matter that it was going to tackle
and
corruption.
And failed hopefully on all fronts.
Almost 8 years.
In fact, even compounded the issue of corruption. I said somewhere this morning that it's as if Buhari that came to fight corruption handed over to corruption. You understand? For corruption fought into a standstill. Corruption defeated him and he handed over to corruption.
Surrendered to corruption.
Yes. So we can go on. We can stretch that metaphor of him handing over to corruption. We know what we are talking about. Because you find out that nobody talks about corruption anymore. You are even talking about the selection of the leadership of the National Assembly, which we spoke about earlier. It's all related to corruption. Because we are aware of what is happening at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel Abuja. How dollar is essential. You know, the corruption continues. And these are the people we hope will give us good governance. Is this this 10th National Assembly, you know, that will give us good legislation that will change the lot of Nigeria, that will help the incoming administration, you know, to deliver on its promises when the processes already have a question mark. So there's a big problem. So while we look forward to the incoming administration, there should be more citizen advocacy, more citizen participation, more citizen awareness in order to be able to hold government accountable. If we think this process, our participation in government as citizens ends when election ends when ministers are sworn in, ends when the National Assembly is inaugurated, we miss it. As citizens, we have to be part and parcel of the government. We have to checkmate the government. In fact, we have to follow them bumper by bumper. If actually we want things to change, we shouldn't go to sleep. Activism doesn't end after the election, but it should continue. And that is the only way we can get things right in this country.
Now, one last question just before we end today's program. President Muhammadu Buhari's last minute appointment. How do you see that? Just a few weeks to go.
Buhari is a late doctor. Some board membership. Buhari as it is, just about 2-3 weeks before handing over. I think what should concern me now, they are now 8 years now. What all the appointment is this now? Why didn't he make them before now? It's as it is, any appointment is made now is at the behest of the incoming administration that will hold it or to strike it off, cancel it. If it was already done as a way of compensating the boys, as a parting gift to some cronies around me. If that's what happened, the incoming administration should jettison it. Understand?
What about the contracts too? That is also
Same thing applies. That's why I said Buhari is a lame dog of a lame dog. He has no power anymore. If anything he does now, whether in the name of awarding contract, I don't even forget that there is a last minute case going on in all these channels. And as citizens we should be concerned. And as an outgoing president, he too should be concerned. What I expect him to do is not making an appointment for awarding contract. Is to hold the country together, block all loopholes for corruption and corrupt practices before the incoming administration take over.
That's what he told us.
That is what he should do.
If we call him after his
To come and answer for anything, he will run to the
you just finished the statement. You just completed the statement. Nobody should call him for anything. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Your past knowledge of the issues. Thank you so much. And I look forward to having you set and next week, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So viewers, this is where we end today's Inside Nigeria. Tomorrow, your favorite show is same time, same station. Don't forget to join with us. My name is Wayne Frederick. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-61